Hey, good morning, y'all. It's Ned over My Philippine Dreams, and we are down at the Rusi Racal Memorial Ball Field. It's a Rusi field, so I'm expecting it to break down at any moment. Just kidding, Rusi and Racal. There's actually some of the guys that own it live in Dumaguete. I don't want any problems. Wala ko maging-tagaway. All right, I got to relay a story, an incident that happened yesterday. Yesterday was basically spent at the hospital. I'm not going to say what hospital. I'm not going to tell you what doctor I was interacting. Because again, I don't want any problems here in Dumaguete. It's a small town, and everybody knows everybody. All right, so basically, I told you about the sigmoidoscopy. I got to get a sigmoidoscopy. So Michelle actually went down last week and inquired as to how much it would cost, and it was 1,700 pesos. They said yes, they'd do it. So yesterday, I went down, and you have to go, this is the way it works in the Philippines. You got to get priority numbers. You can't actually call the office in a lot of places unless you're like in some real high-end area like, I don't know, Makati. So you got to get a priority number, and then you got to sit down there and wait your turn. The hospital I was at is air-conditioned, so it wasn't so bad. So you go there at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I jumped on my scooter. I blasted off to the hospital at 7 o'clock in the morning. And when I got there, the system was offline. They said it should be back online within an hour, just come back then. So I gave it about an hour and a half, 8:30. I returned to the hospital and it was still down. So she said, the person at the desk said, just give it another hour, hopefully it'll all be back to normal. So I went back home, came back about 2 hours later, and I was able to get a priority number. I was actually getting 2 priority numbers because I also have a inflamed lymph node in my groin. I know this is too much information. I'm sharing way too much. But so I needed 2 doctor appointments. So I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited. And when you're doing the priority number, you actually have to go to the information desk and you tell them what you need. I need a sigmoidoscopy. You guys do sigmoidoscopies? And he's like, yep, I'm going to refer you to Dr. So-and-so. So finally, I was able to get in to see this doctor, and this is like 3 o'clock in the afternoon now. So basically, I've been trying to do this all day. Oh yeah, poor me and my first world problems. So I get into the reception area, and I'm like, I just want to know if you do sigmoidoscopy. And she didn't know what it was, but she says, this doctor does everything. So I finally get into the doctor's office, and she sits me down and starts doing the medical. And at this point, I have because of the swollen lymph node, I got some kind of internal infection going on, and I'm still sick today. So I was feeling like really dizzy, really feverish, really nasty. She starts taking all this medical history, which is something they usually don't do here. They took my blood pressure, but they didn't have any provision to take my temperature. I actually had to go to the emergency room to get my temperature taken because that was the only thermometer in the hospital. We go through all this, and finally she says, you know what, we don't do sigmoidoscopies. I recommend a full colonoscopy. It's going to cost, 30-something thousand pesos for this. And I was like, but it says, that you do sigmoidoscopies at the front desk, the information desk where I got my priority number, and also, where the area is, where they have all the procedures. She says, no, we don't do sigmoidoscopies. That's, very 17th century, which is kind of ironic because the doctor in the U.S. and the medical care in the U.S. is basically superior to that anywhere in the Philippines, I think. And she said, you got to get a colonoscopy. So I really didn't want to get a colonoscopy. So I told her, I said, I really wish you had told me, or somebody had told me, that you guys don't do sigmoidoscopies here before I spent all the money that I spent, or I'm going to spend, on this doctor's appointment. And, medical care, seeing a doctor is not expensive in the Philippines. It's about for this doctor in this hospital, it's about 500-600 pesos. But I had spent all day, I had spent a lot of time, a lot of energy. I was sick, I was feverish, I was weak, I just wasn't feeling good. I felt like I was going to pass out at a couple points. Come to find out, my temperature in the emergency room was 100.4, which wasn't too bad. So she starts getting upset and basically tells me, after I, expressed, and I didn't say it in a snooty way. I'm going to title this video, how to express your internal douchebag or something. But they don't like hearing that here. It's part of the culture. They don't like that. So she said, and you hear this a lot, well, I didn't ask you to come here. And I thought that was interesting that she said it that way, because I was thinking to myself, does she mean the doctor's office or the Philippines? Long story short, too late, yeah, we were able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Yes, I wasn't able to get a sigmoidoscopy because they don't do them here. But on the other hand, she checked out my swollen lymph node and she prescribed some medications. A super anti-inflammatory that's worked really good on the body pains and all the mental disturbances from this infection of whatever I got. And she also put me on, and they love doing this, ciprofloxacin, I think it's called, Cipro, which is a pretty heavy-duty antibiotic, as I'm standing out here in the sun on antibiotics, which isn't too smart. And then she asked, who referred you? And I'm like, well, you know, your business office and the guy at the front desk. But again, we talked things out. I realized that I was, you know, being a little walanghia. I was acting a little shamelessly and being a little overly aggressive and expressing my displeasure on having my day wasted when they could have just told me that they don't do it, which would have saved everybody a lot of time, energy, and a few pesos. But I got everything taken care of. It ended well. These are things that happen all the time here. The inefficiency, I'm not even going to say the bureaucracy. It's like people don't want to take responsibility, and they don't want to experience that shame of not being able to do something or be able to answer a question or be able to, you know, do things in certain contexts. And most of the time, I'm really good with it. Most of the time, I deal with it fairly well. Not super well, but fairly well. When I first got here, it was more difficult, but the more time, you know, I spend here, the easier it gets. But yesterday was not a good day, and again, I'm gonna stick to my excuse that I was sick, I wasn't feeling good, I was feverish, I was dizzy. That's my story. And I just felt, and I apologized to her. You know, I apologized. I was in the wrong for being overly aggressive and expressing my disdain for the system and how it works here sometimes. You have to go through this whole process just to be told no. So that's my story. That's how I released my inner douchebag. I'm off to go run some more errands. I got to swing by the hospital and see if there's some alternatives to try to get a sigmoidoscopy done. Because I just like saying sigmoidoscopy. It took me a while to figure out how to pronounce it, but it's like provenance. Provenance. The province. This is Ned over at My Philippine Dreams. Take care, y'all.